In this episode, we talk about diet
and how you gotta stop eating like a baby. All right, Brent Porcio, Adam Garcia, Stephen Godani. This is the at Top Velocity hashtag pitching tips show, where you go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you ask your question, anything pitching, anything we do here at Top Velocity, at Top Velocity hashtag pitching tips. We answer it on the show. If you if you guys are loving the show, if you're enjoying the show, please share it, subscribe. Even if you're not liking the show, please share it and subscribe. We appreciate it because we want to keep this coming and keep answering your questions. So what's the question today?
Gabriel asks, I know diet is crucial. What does an ideal day of eating look like for someone looking to become stronger / more explosive?
Yeah, I'm going to leave it up to Steven. Steven is spending a lot of time reading studies on diet and stuff like that. For me, I'm a big whole foods guy. I mean, I want to stay, I like supplements. I have my supplements, but I want to get as much nutrients from my food. And now that I've gotten older, it gets even more important. And I'm also big into gut health. Gut health is also a big, important aspect of this, but when you're young, you don't really understand gut health till you get to my age. The point is I'm just gonna always say, you gotta just learn to eat right, eat well. And what is that right? Maybe Steven can fill us in. I know there's these different diets out there. I gravitated more towards the warrior diet in my career. Maybe Steven can fill you in on that. But besides that, I think I've probably tried everything, tried every supplement, and didn't really get the results. The results for me came from the training, but yes, diet is important. It supports our training. If you have a really bad diet, don't expect to get as much out of the program. If you have a really good diet and you have a really good appetite and you can eat a lot, it's really eating a lot, consuming a lot, it's gonna support it. But let's let Steven give some details on that. What do you got to say?
I just think there's a lot of conflicting knowledge out there, and I think a lot of coaches and parents and people that players are going to get their advice from just don't really have a good understanding of what needs to be done. But it is frustrating because I have been trying to find studies and do a bunch of research, and a lot of the stuff is very conflicting, and one person says do this and one person says do that, so it can be really confusing to find what's true and what's going to work. Just from my experience and Brent's experience, there are two approaches that both worked. His approaches worked for him. I've got Adam kind of doing my approach too, and we've seen some gains in muscle mass and stuff. But pretty much a day of it would be, like Brent's saying, I like to think of it as 95% of your gains in muscle mass. It's going to be coming from you got to be eating whole foods, like he's saying. It's not just supplements. It's ridiculous how many people go out there and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on all these supplements, and they're not spending anywhere near enough on food in the grocery store, on actual food. That's what your body needs to start building. Supplements might be 5% of the battle, a little edge that you might be able to get, but that's pretty much it. You got to be eating, and like Brent says, you got to be eating a lot. You got to find out what your metabolic rate's going to be at just during a day, how much you're burning just to stay alive. Then you got to calculate in how much you're going to be exercising, how much calories you're going to be burning, and then you have to have an excess of that. So I don't know how big you are, Gabriel. I don't know how much you weigh, how tall you are and stuff, but you pretty much just need to calculate, okay, I'm going to find my resting metabolic rate, and then I'm going to find out how many calories I'd be burning depending on how much I'm working out, and then from there calculate, okay, I want to start gaining some strength, gaining some size, so I have to have a higher caloric intake than that. And pretty much for foods, you're going to want to be eating good proteins, lean proteins, chicken, lean beef, salmon, stuff like that as protein sources. Greek yogurt can be good. Just good lean proteins. You're going to be wanting to eat a lot of vegetables and then carbohydrates, of course. And I'm into the kind of timing of the carbohydrates. I think after you work out is a huge time to be getting, I like to think, 2-to-1 carbohydrate ratio of getting carbs, and 2-to-1 protein, or 2-to-1 carbohydrates to protein ratio. So after my workouts, I like to have a good meal of carbohydrates and good protein in there to start building some more muscle. And then just going into Brent's technique too of the warrior diet, which worked really well for him, which is just throughout the day before you actually go into workout. It goes back to kind of primitive man. Man would hunt throughout the day, kind of just eating fruits. Just like finding stuff to eat to before he would go hunting, like berries.
Yeah,
nuts.
basically grazing on a lot of raw, because what that does is it puts enzymes into you, and those enzymes are kind of set later in the day when you make your kill, like primitive man, and then that's where you gorge yourself and you eat a lot of proteins and just a lot of food, and then your stomach, your gut has been primed to that, so it can assimilate everything, and that's usually post-workout, so your body is dying for all that nutrients to rebuild. So it's a good timing. I liked it, but the problem is you can starve yourself a lot, and the problem is if you're not good at knowing your metabolism or that rate at which you're burning your calories, then you cannot be in that calorie surplus, which is really critically important. You don't want to be starving all the time, because then your body's going to do things like go into stress and go into adrenals, things you don't really want it to do. You don't want it to feed on itself. You really want to constantly be allowing it to rebuild and store and enhance and grow. But like you said, you can do that, or you can do the diet where you're constantly feeding yourself. To talk about the guy that you follow, and you can put his stuff out there.
John Berardi is the guy that I like to follow, just because I haven't found a lot of nutritionists. Maybe you guys know some. You guys can hit me at Stephen Guadani on Twitter or on Instagram or something. But he's really the only one I found that really gets into gaining a lot of lean muscle mass, and he over a period of 2 years time put on like 50 pounds of lean muscle mass, kind of changed his whole physique. His another guy he works with, Nate Green, put on 40 pounds over a couple of years. So I was really interested in that, just because just for a lot of guys coming in here who want to gain velocity, it's huge to get some more size on them. But at the same time, as that size is coming, you tend to get more explosive if you're doing the right exercises and you're eating the right way. So you're putting on muscle mass, and you're getting faster, and you're getting stronger, you're getting more explosive, and that's all going to lead to more velocity. So that really interests me. But yeah, John Berardi was the one that I kind of just saw that was, okay, he's really the only one I'm really seeing that's like really focusing on. So that's why I really like his approach. I've been doing it for a couple of months and put on about 12 pounds. Adam's been doing it for a little while. He's put on, how much have you put on, Adam?
10 pounds.
About 10 pounds. So I think that's a really good approach. So
yeah, and it's good to learn them all. They're very different, and we're all for that. This isn't our specialty is talking diet, but we know it's a big part of it. I even have a little performance enhancement guide out there covering some supplements and your good diet. Go to topvelocity.net/free and you can download that. But one thing I can't stand is when we do camps and we go to lunch with the guys, and the guys come to order, and they're ordering basically a preset sandwich that comes with everything on it, even a side salad or a potato salad, and they pretty much modify it to make it completely plain, just the beef and the bread. And it's hard to look at that kid and say, okay, I'm expecting you to train like a beast, like we do here 5 days a week in our off season, 4 to 5 hours a day, and this is how you're going to eat. That's really setting yourself up for failure, because the hardest thing in this program is getting into your performance weeks and being able to wake up every morning and feel like you got some life in you. The problem is if you're not eating well, you're not going to feel like you got life in you at that point. So like I said, that's where it's got to start. It's got to start with focusing in on just eating right, eating good, and eating a lot, and get rid of your particularities. Yeah, of course, if you have allergies, if you have intolerances, which I think is good to go and find out, do some blood work, there's certain things you should stay away from, but definitely don't eat because you don't like the way it tastes. I mean, you're not a kid anymore at this level, guys. Stop doing that. You need to grow up, and you need to eat food because your body needs it. It's important, right? It's kind of like nobody likes to go to school, but you got to go to school. You got to learn. You got to get your brain going so you can be successful later in life. So that needs to be where it starts. For example, here's a young kid, 17 years old. I mean, talk about how you kind of had to grow up with your diet as well as you've come into this program.
Well, I just think the biggest thing is that before I just had no diet whatsoever. I was just eating junk food, anything I wanted to eat. I mean, candy, soda, just pretty much a bunch of bull in my diet. And ever since I've come in been dieting with Steven, I've been eating a lot of more whole foods, a lot of lean beef, a lot of lean meat, what do you call it, whole wheat pasta, stuff like that, and stuff that's actually helping my body rebuild and recover. Because when you start putting a bunch of all that crap in your body and you're actually lifting hard in the weight room, it makes it really hard for your body to recover. I mean, soda, stuff that's really acidic or stuff that's really bad for your body, really breaks your body down instead of actually recovers it. So I just think the biggest thing is that you need to start eating better foods, and even if you don't really have the biggest diet plan or you're not on really anything, you just need to cut like all that stuff out of your diet, or else it's really going to be hindering you.
Yeah, and then later on you can learn about timing certain supplements, because timing supplements is really important. There's a lot more that we're doing in this video, man. I mean, we're barely brushing a subject here that you could go incredibly in depth on. We could do every single video on diet, but that's not what we do here. We're more focused on training you and developing you biomechanically, anthropometrically, basically athletically, to be able to be a high velocity pitcher. But this is a component. This is a piece that we don't go in depth into. But like we do with mobility, you know, I really kind of refer to someone like Kelly Starrett and other experts out there that go into mobility. I'm not going to go into that as well. I do have my opinions, but a lot I take from their work. But if you look at my biomechanics work, it's all me, you know, or pretty much all me. If you look at my lifting stuff, of course I've been influenced by my coaches up to this point, but a lot of it is me. So we're not going to dive into the things that I feel like need to be specialized. So diet, you need to go out and find somebody else. You need to go to, say, his references or some of, you know, I'll give you some more references and get into their stuff. Because this is something that once you learn to eat right, and this is all we want to do in this video, is understand that you need to start eating right. Start increasing your caloric intake of really good foods across the board. Then when you get to the point where you start doing that, and then you're like, all right, now I want to make it even better, that's when you can get into these diet plans. But do not go into a diet plan. Do not go into supplementation. Do not do all that stuff until you've got a good diet going, because all that is just basically distracting you from what needs to be done, which is learning how to eat right at all your meals. All right, so good question. If you have a question, go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Top Velocity, #pitching-tips, and ask your question. We're going to answer it on the show. At the same time, too, guys, we're here to help you out in anything on pitching, mainly pitching velocity is what we do here. Go check out our 3X programs. We got our beginners, our extreme, even our camps, our 3X camps that are huge down here, and you can come down and also stay and train with us. Stephen Godani has a place that he lets guys come and rent while they live down here and train. That's why Adam's here. That's why we have a bunch of guys here. And we want to help you with that, topvelocity.net. But also keep sending your questions, because we love doing these shows. We want to answer all those questions. So we'll see you on the next episode. So.
Boys.